So what is going on, guys? Welcome back to yet another video here on the Freak Flyers YouTube channel, and today we're doing skydiving disciplines explained. Now, I was going to do this video with like a tier list, skydiving disciplines tier list, but I've decided not to because there's really no good and no bad disciplines, they're just different. So what I've decided to do is actually give each discipline 4 different scores. One for fun factor, of course, self-explanatory, another one for safety, how safe the discipline is, the other one for the experience required to actually practice the discipline, and finally the wild card for how rare or how common the discipline is and how much of a wild card the people practicing the discipline usually are. So without further ado, let's actually get started. Dynamic flying. Dynamic flying is basically the love child of all the cool radical parts of free flying and of angle jumps. It's basically a jump where everyone chips in with their ideas during the dirt dive, and eventually it becomes some sort of Frankenstein's creation, starting out as an angle, then stalling into head up. You get the idea. Fun factor. When it comes to fun factor, this is the most unrestrained fun you can have in free fly. No worries, no time restrictions, no compulsory rounds, just you, your friends, the sky, and terrible ideas. So for fun, I give it 4 cases of B out of 5. Safety. Now, safety is going to vary from group to group, of course, but assuming you know the skills of everyone in your group, and let's face it, you probably don't, it's probably going to be an overall safe-ish experience, so it scores 3 out of 5 meat missiles. Experience required. When it comes to the experience required, it all comes down to how complex your jump is. The more crazy moves you have and the faster you go, the greater the likelihood of you getting hurt. So it all comes down to what's happening in the jump, but since I called it dynamic flying, I'm assuming you planned the craziest, wildest angle of your life, so I'll say experience required is about 3 Luis Prinetos from Fly for Life. Wildcard. Angle flying and free flying is about as common as it gets, so you can definitely count on there being someone at the DZ ready to at least do a two-way follow me, no plan dynamic angle, so the score for wildcard is 5 out of 5 friendship stars. Swooping. 100% of skydivers love swooping. 99% of them love watching people swoop, and the other 1% actually love to swoop. It's hard to find flaws in the greatest of all disciplines, but as you guys know, I always give my unbiased opinion. So here are the scores. Fun factor. Just like dynamic flying is the most fun you can have in free fall, swooping is the most fun you can have under canopy. It's basically going really fast, really close to the ground for fun. What's there not to love about that? So for fun, it scores 5 Nick batches. Safety. Swooping has quite a reputation for being dangerous, but if you look up the stats, most injuries and fatalities come from people learning how to do high-performance landings, not from pro swoopers. Even though it does also happen from time to time, and it's quite unfortunate, incidents involving pro swoopers are by no means a major part of skydiving-related fatalities. With that being said, you are constantly at risk because some risks you can't control, and of course, during the learning process, you're also at risks. So for safety, I'm going to give swooping 2 out of 5 femurs. Experience required. As previously mentioned, swooping is dangerous and requires skill, time, patience, and discipline to learn. It takes true blood and sweat to become a swooper, so for that, I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 Flight 1 courses. Wildcard. Only around 1 out of every 100 skydivers actually swoops. But usually people who properly swoop work full-time in skydiving, so at any given day, at any given DZ, you'll always have a bare minimum of 3 to 4 swoopers, so even though swoopers aren't a popular breed per se, they are still easy to find, usually hitting on your girl. For this reason, I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 sub-70 Petras. Artistic events. Most skydivers who have a C license have already at least tried to fly sit or even head on for those brave outlaws. Well, ask any one of them why they want to free fly, and maybe 50% of them will tell you that they want to learn to fly like the free fly world champions. These select individuals have mastered the art of body flight and do things that, until you see them in videos, you think are impossible. They make us want to compete in artistic events, but how does this discipline stack up against the rest? Fun factor. A normal free fly routine is basically a 3-way dynamic jump on steroids and cocaine. Anything and everything the performance can squeeze in the 43 seconds available is a win. The current bar is set so high that you need to be both a god in the sky and a god in the wind tunnel, preferably more in the latter, in order to succeed. The thrill of planning and executing a routine successfully is just as rewarding for a beginner team as it is for the world champions. Compulsory rounds can be a pain if free routines are just going smooth, but they are also a fun challenge. So for fun factor, it gets 4 Airwax teams. Safety. Artistic events are basically, again, as I said, a very well planned 3-way dynamic, so there should be no surprises, no accidents. The risk you run in a training or competition jump is no greater than any other free flight jump. As long as you follow BSRs and have general knowledge about free flight safety, you should be good. So in terms of safety, it scores 5 out of 5 USPA safety and training advisors. Experience required. You can jump with 2 other friends pretty soon in your skydiving career, so there's pretty little experience required. Now, since this category is artistic events, I'm assuming you want to compete in nationals or something, so everyone in your team must have at least a C license. But of course, check your local rules to confirm how true this is. Having a C license is considered relatively low experience, so all things considered, it scores 2 fresh C licenses. Wildcard. Free flying is super common. 3-ways are also super common, but serious free flight teams are rare, so I'm going to give it a score of 2 totem compulsory sequences. Wingsuit. What's the difference between a wingsuit and a porcupine? The wingsuit has the pricks on the outside. All jokes aside, wingsuiters are like the weird art kids in high school. They dress up in weird dresses and gather up in herds. Only they understand why they do it, and other non-wingsuiters are always confused when they see them go to the back of the plane wearing a nylon dress on a 38-degree summer day. When all said and done, they have their fun and are only a pain in the ass to the ground crew that have to pick them up when they land outside. Fun factor. Wingsuit flying is about as fun as riding a horse in the wild. Except the horse is actually a dolphin and the wild is actually a family water park. The fun factor is dependent on your mindset. Any wingsuiter will tell you that wingsuit flying is the most fun you can have with your clothes on, when in reality, it scores 3 out of 5 disappointed emojis. Safety. Wingsuit-related fatalities are one of the leading causes of skydiving-related deaths, not to mention wingsuit base-related deaths. Everything can be performed safely in skydiving, but sometimes, when there's a lack of proper instruction, shit can hit the fan pretty hard. For this, I'm going to have to give wingsuiting 1 out of 5 wingsuit Cypress. It's not me, it's the stats speaking for themselves. Experience required. Just like with artistic events, you need a minimum of a C license to enroll in a wingsuit first flight course. So again, relatively low experience is required, so it scores 2 Birdman suits. Wildcard. Take a look at any summer load on a busy DZ and you'll always find 1 to 4 wingsuiters on any given load. There's always at least one lowly wing boy in every DZ, usually rocking 7 GoPros and shiny gear. For this reason, I gave it a score of 3 Jeb Corlises. Jeb Corlises? Canopy formations. Unfortunately, I know very little about canopy formations, so I won't go deep into detail as not to upset my canopy formation viewers. But from what I have experienced, canopy formation scares the living crap out of me. It's super calm and relaxed, but I don't know. The feeling I get when a canopy is touching my butt makes me feel very uneasy. I still love to film and watch it being done by the pros though. Fun factor. This is going to be very influenced by my personal opinion, but to me, the fun of being in a canopy formation does not match how uneasy I feel even when just doing a 2-way stack. I do see the motifs behind the passion that people have for it, but it's just not for me. I'm so sorry to all my canopy formation enthusiasts, but it gets 3 out of 5 7-cell wings. Safety. The community of canopy formation have their stuff figured out, and fatalities are rare. With that being said, tangles and wraps are pretty much a weekly occurrence for the top tier teams, and because some of those wraps are pretty nasty, I'll give it 3 out of 5 hook knives of safety. Experience required. I'm not sure what the experience requirements are for going to a canopy formation starter camp, but I hope they're tight. Now, because the canopies used are pretty docile, I have seen people with relatively low experience levels performing canopy formation safely. Still, because of the respect I have for the discipline, I'll give it 3 out of 5 4-way stacks of experience required. Wildcard. Now, I have come to realize that the majority of my viewers are American, so I have to take that in consideration. I say this because here in Europe, canopy formations are as rare as a female swooper, but I do see that Americans love canopy formations, so for that, I won't give it the lowest score, I'll give it 2 out of 5 freedoms per eagle. Classic accuracy. This discipline is very common all around the world and consists of landing a big-ass canopy on a big-ass mattress, trying to press a tiny little coin-sized hole with a male heel shoe. Canopies are big and slow to give you the most time and range to make adjustments and score that 0. Fun factor. I see how some jumpers have fun doing accuracy. I truly do. But it's just so boring to me, both to watch and to do. I just can't. So for fun factor, it scores 1 out of 5 300 square foot 7-cell canopies. Safety. Slow canopies make it safe for sure. But the thing is, usually they're jumping with no AADs, with old janky rigs and hitting the mattress pretty hard, so for that it doesn't get a perfect score. 4 out of 5 Parachute de France accuracy special rigs. Experience required. You can totally do classic accuracy fresh out of your AFF. You're probably gonna suck at it, but it is possible. Anyone with any wing can try to improve their accuracy on landing, but you won't win any medals. For that, I give it 1 out of 5 fresh A licenses in experience required. Wildcard. The classic accuracy bunch is a must in every old DZ. They aren't super common, but you always know where to find them. So for that, they get 3 out of 5 Cessna 182s. Sky surfing. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Belly formations. Belly bigways and belly sequentials are the founding pillars of skydiving. This is how everyone learns, where everyone starts, it's everyone's starting point, and we all have to have respect from where we come from. Fun factor, FS4 competitions are somewhat fun but very stressing and psychologically demanding. Same thing applies for bigways. They always make us feel like we have a lot of weight on our shoulders, and it's enough to make anyone feel nervous. With that being said, the feeling you get after a successful FS4 round or after you flew your slot perfectly in a bigway is awesome. All this of course for bigways and FS4 jumps, because your run-of-the-mill belly star jumps can get pretty boring, so for that I'll give it 3 out of 4 speed stars. Safety. Assuming you're jumping with a somewhat decent team, or assuming you have a good load organizer planning the formation, this is one of the safest things you can do in freefall. So for that, I'll give it 5 out of 5 creepers. Experience required. Your AFF is basically a belly formation jump, so in theory there are no skills required in this discipline. But because I mentioned bigways and FS4 competitions, I'm gonna have to give it a score of 2 out of 5 red lines from the movie Cutaway. Wildcard. On any given load, there's a 90% chance there's a belly formation happening, so about as common as it gets. For this reason, it gets 5 out of 5 A-licensed chicks. Zoo dives. Zoo dives are exactly what the name implies. A jump where a bunch of people just behave like animals in freefall, usually resulting in pretty sweet videos and some pretty close calls. Fun factor, zoo dives are truly fun for all experience levels, doesn't matter what or who you are. If you're on the load and you join, you're having fun. For that, it scores 5 out of 5 inflatable boats. Safety. When I think of zoo dives, I think of 2 things. Danger and planning it far, far away from the eyes of the safety and training advisor. Any guesses on why that is? Zoo dives are about as safe as drinking from the fruit punch at the DZ party. You never really know what's in them, and you'll only find out when it's too late. For that, it gets 1 out of 5 premature openings. Experience required. Depending on how much of a cheeky bastard you are, you can take a fresh A license on a zoo dive. Please do not do this. In reality, you're looking at least 2 out of 5 die-epic stickers of experience level required. Wildcard. Zoo dives are as common as skydiving itself, but aren't usually an all-day occurrence. What happens most of the time is during a day of fun jumping, people are doing their own thing, any of the above-mentioned disciplines, and when sunset rolls around, a bunch of guys and gals just get together and plan an impossibly complicated jump that inevitably ends up being a zoo dive. So it's safe to say it's pretty common, so I'll give it 4 out of 5 horny gorillas. So what did we learn from all of this? Well, that in reality, it doesn't matter what discipline you do, there's always fun parts, dangerous parts, but most of all, there's a shared love for whatever that discipline is, and that's why you and your mates do it. And that's what skydiving is all about, sharing the experience and being passionate with whatever you do. Except zoo dives, of course. Shame on you for even considering doing them. With that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If I forgot about any disciplines or obscure things, please just leave them down in the comment section. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, share the video, whatever you want. And as always, I'll see you next time.